5 Cursed Playboy Playmates. Sex, drugs, and naked women. Since 1953, Playboy Magazine Playmates have enticed readers as they flaunt their tantalizing bodies all over its pages. But behind the glitzy and erotic displays lies some strange mysteries, drama, and crime. These are 5 Cursed Playboy Playmates. Number 5. Star Stowe. Born Ellen Louise Stowe in Little Rock, Arkansas, Star Stowe stood 5 feet 6 inches tall, had dark eyes and honey-colored hair. When she was young, her dream was to be a dancer, and by her teens she had moved to Las Vegas and then Los Angeles in hopes of achieving that dream. According to her friends, Playboy found Stowe after seeing her dance at an adult club in LA. After her discovery, she became the magazine's Playmate of the Month for February of 1977, and it was the first Playmate to sport a visible tattoo on the magazine's cover. During her appearance, her spot was titled Starstruck, and she was made to look like an innocent teenager. Inside were nearly nude photos of Stowe, as well as pictures of her with the rock band Kiss and Playboy founder Hugh Hefner. With her rise in the Playboy limelight, Stowe briefly dated Kiss member Gene Simmons. During a chance meeting at an elevator in the Hotel Sahara in Las Vegas, Stowe complimented the rock star, saying he looked better laid back and without the makeup. She hung around the band for a while, but eventually the short fling ended. Later in 1977, Stowe married and then divorced a man named Peter Malago. The marriage resulted in a son that she named Michael. Stowe lived with him for a while, but by the time he turned 6 years old, she had sent him to live with his grandparents in Little Rock. But she kept in touch with constant phone calls and visits, and in 1986 she decided to move to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Her sights were now set on being a dancer at an adult club called Pure Platinum out there. However, that never panned out. Instead, her life there spiraled out of control. She ended up getting hooked on drugs and then fell into prostitution. For some time in 1991, her life saw some improvement when she met her then boyfriend. The two lived together for 5 years, and Stowe told him she was ready to give up her reckless lifestyle. During their time, she did straighten her life out. She took care of their pets, the house, and the garden. However, after a drunken night of arguments, the relationship failed and Stowe ended up with a nasty bump on her head. The two fell out of contact after that, and her ex-boyfriend found out through friends that Stowe went back into prostitution. Not only that, she was deeply into drugs again and drinking. On March 16, 1996, 40-year-old Stowe was seen in her neighborhood selling herself on the street. The sighting occurred between 3 and 5 p.m. Police believe it was around this time that she was picked up by her eventual killer. Her body was later found strangled and partially clothed behind the bushes of a Coral Springs Eckerd store in Florida. The curious thing is that she wasn't the only prostitute to have died in a similar manner. See, 3 weeks prior, the body of another prostitute named Sandra Walters was also found. She had been strangled and left naked at the back of a Palm Beach County adult movie theater. Despite the similarities in the death of Stowe and Walters, police haven't found a definitive link between the two murders. Today, Star Stowe's killer still remains at large. Number 4. Eve Meyer. Eve Turner originally hailed from Atlanta, Georgia. The gorgeous blonde first worked as a pinup model, posing nude or topless. Then by 1952, she married photographer and sexploitation filmmaker Russ Meyer. Meyer was known for creating campy films featuring large-breasted women, and it wasn't long before Eve Meyer appeared and starred in them. 1955 became a breakthrough year for the actress as she was featured in Playboy Magazine and became the Playmate of the Month for June of 1955. In the same year, she also appeared in unbilled parts of a Martin and Lewis comedy called Artists and Models. But over time, the married couple's personal lives unraveled, and they eventually divorced in 1961. The following year, Russ Meyer married another actress. The former couple, however, maintained a professional relationship as Eve continued to produce 4 more of his films. On March 27, 1977, Eve boarded Pan Am Flight 1736 from Los Angeles, headed to the Canary Islands. As they approached the islands, the main Gran Canaria airport was congested, and many of the aircrafts were being diverted to Los Rodeos Airport, including Meyer's flight. On top of that, a series of thick fogs were drifting around the airfield that day, preventing the control tower from seeing the aircrafts they were guiding. As a KLM 4805 flight was initiating its takeoff, the Pan Am 1736 flight that carried Eve and more than 300 passengers was still on the runway and getting ready to turn off onto the taxiway. The KLM pilot mistakenly thought he was given the go-ahead signal to fly out, and the two planes collided in a dramatic crash. Many were killed instantly, but the majority of the casualties were from the resulting fire and smoke that ignited the two planes. In the end, only 61 people survived the collision, and 583 people died as a result, including Eve Meyer. Number 3. Jasmine Fiore. After spending her childhood years in Bonnie Doon, California, Jasmine Fiore decided to move out and try her hand at modeling. She often worked as a swimsuit model and as a body-painted model at various parties and entertainment shindigs. She appeared in Las Vegas casinos and on adult phone line commercials. With her sexy body and beautiful looks, she then won a spot to be featured in Playboy Magazine. In 2008, Fiore met real estate investor Ryan Jenkins at a Las Vegas casino party, and the two hit it off. Jenkins had just appeared as a contestant on two reality game shows, VH1's Megan Wants a Millionaire and I Love Money 3. The two quickly fell in love and married in Vegas on March 18, 2008, just 2 days after they met. During their 5-month marriage, friends say the couple's relationship was volatile. They consistently fought because Fiore had remained in contact with her ex-boyfriends. Many of Fiore's friends also said she wanted out of the marriage but didn't know how to do it or tell Jenkins. On the evening of August 13, 2009, Fiore and Jenkins checked into the L'Auberge Hotel in Del Mar, San Diego. Both were there to attend a poker tournament and fundraiser. They were seen on surveillance leaving the Hilton at 2:30 a.m. on August 14th. Afterwards, they were spotted at a nightclub in downtown San Diego, but around 4:30 a.m., only Jenkins returned to L'Auberge Hotel. Fiore was nowhere to be found. On the morning of August 15th at 7 a.m., a woman's mutilated body was found crushed and beaten behind a dumpster in an alley in Buena Park, California. The body was severely mutilated with signs the killer tried to prevent the identification of the victim. The teeth had been removed and the fingers were cut off. The victim was strangled, then left naked and stuffed inside a suitcase. On August 15th at 8:55 p.m., Jenkins called police to report his wife missing. He told them he had last seen her the day before at around 8:30 p.m. at their home on Edinburgh Avenue. He said they went to a poker event and he dropped her off before leaving for errands. Soon after reporting his wife missing, Jenkins left LA and headed to Nevada on the 17th to get a speedboat. It was at this time when police asked to see him, but he told them he was already in Utah and was heading to his home country of Canada to fix some immigration issues. It took police several days to identify the victim, but on August 18th, they finally proclaimed that it was the body of Jasmine Fiore. According to the autopsy, she had died just hours before she was found. Her white Mercedes was abandoned in a parking lot in West Hollywood, and in the car there were signs of a struggle. The following day on the 19th, Jenkins called his father and told him Fiore was found murdered. By this time, police proclaimed Jenkins as a person of interest in the case, but when they tried to follow his trail, it led them to Canada, where it's believed he entered the country using his speedboat and then hitchhiked to his home. He eventually became a wanted man after being charged for the murder of Fiore. On August 20th, Jenkins was spotted at the Thunderbird Motel in Hope, British Columbia. 3 days later, Jenkins failed to check out, and the manager noticed little activity during the weekend, so the motel staff decided to check the room. It was here they found Jenkins had hanged himself using a belt attached to the clothes rack in the closet. There was no suicide note, but he saved a 1-page letter dated August 20th, 2009. In it, he apologized to his family and relatives for the negative publicity, but never acknowledged the death of Fiore or even mentioned her name in the letter. Number 2. Evelyn Vickers. Born in Kansas City, Missouri, Evelyn Vickers first studied to be a journalist, but after taking an acting class, she decided to pursue a life as an actress. Her earliest unbilled appearance was in the movie Sunset Boulevard. Vickers also appeared in several movies after that. In 1957, she starred in Shortcut to Hell and Reform School Girl. The following year, she starred as Honey Parker in the movie Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Following this, she appeared in Attack of the Giant Leeches and various other television shows. In 1959, at the height of her career, Yvette posed for Playboy and became the Playmate of the Month for July of 1959. Aside from Playboy, Vickers also appeared in other men's magazines. Eventually, though, she shied away from the movie screens and left the industry entirely. Fast forward to 2010, and 82-year-old Vickers had withdrawn from her extended family. Although she was once married, she never had any children. Eventually, she lived alone at a house in Benedict Canyon, LA. For years, she lived like that, only seen by neighbors once in a while whenever she headed out. On April 27, 2011, a neighbor named Susan Savage noticed letters that began piling up in Vickers' mailbox. Susan had not seen her neighbor in a while, so she headed inside the home to check on her. It was difficult for her to maneuver herself inside the house because the place was filled with boxes and junk items Vickers had accumulated over the years. Susan headed upstairs to the bedroom, and it was there she discovered a mummified body. The figure was unrecognizable, and Susan couldn't make out for sure whether it was the remains of Yvette Vickers. It took the coroner days to positively identify that the remains were in fact that of Miss Vickers. According to them, the cause of death was from heart disease. Authorities believe Vickers was dead for several months before her body was ever found. Number 1. Dorothy Stratton. Dorothy Stratton was once a small-town girl from British Columbia, Canada. At 18, she was working at a Dairy Queen when she was discovered by Paul Snyder. In contrast to Stratton's innocence, Snyder was known in town as the Jewish pimp. He prowled around town looking for young, beautiful girls to take advantage of. When he stumbled across Stratton, he knew he had hit the jackpot. Soon, Snyder was all over the girl, wooing her with jewelry and romantic dinners. He then began telling her she could become a model. But his idea of modeling wasn't the runway. Instead, he was talking about something else. He convinced Stratton to take her clothes off and let him take pictures of her. She was underage by Canadian law and had to convince her mother to sign off on the model release form. Snyder sent the nude photos to Playboy, who at the time were celebrating their 25th anniversary and conducting their Great Playmate Hunt. The competition was to find a Playmate they would feature on their special anniversary issue, where the winner was paid $25,000. In 1978, Stratton moved to LA as a finalist in the Playmate Hunt competition. Snyder moved out there, and the two married in June of '79. She became Playmate of the Month for August of 1979 and began working as a bunny at the Playboy Club in LA. Hugh Hefner also saw more to Stratton's future. He pushed her to cross over into acting, getting her features in television series like Fantasy Island and Buck Rogers. By 1980, Stratton became Playmate of the Year and also won a title role in the sci-fi parody film Galaxina. During this time, she also began filming a movie alongside Audrey Hepburn titled They All Laughed. The film was directed by Peter Bogdanovich, and soon Stratton and her director began having an affair. Snyder could tell Stratton had grown distant, so he hired a private investigator and found out about what was going on. Eventually, Stratton broke the news to him that she was filing for a divorce. She moved out of the home she shared with Snyder and went on to live with Bogdanovich. On August 13, 1980, Snyder bought a used shotgun and joked around with his roommates, saying he was taking up hunting. The following day, on August 14th, Stratton arrived at Snyder's home to give him a down payment as a settlement in their divorce. Although her business manager told her she didn't need to handle the transaction herself, she said it was easier if she did and added that she wanted to remain friends with him. Both Snyder and Stratton were alone at the apartment that day. When the two roommates arrived home later, they saw Snyder's car in the parking lot, but his bedroom was closed. They thought the couple reconciled and didn't bother them. It wasn't until 11 p.m. when Snyder's private detective alerted them that they finally checked the bedroom. Inside, they found Stratton and Snyder dead on the bed. During the investigation, police believe Snyder shot Stratton through the eye and in a rage ripped off her clothes and raped her. Afterwards, realizing what he had done, Snyder took the shotgun and committed suicide. Dorothy Stratton was just 20 years old when she was murdered. Unlike previous Playmates who had died, Dorothy's Playboy spread wasn't pulled off the shelves by Hefner since he knew people would buy it. In October of 1980, a Playboy issue featuring the murdered Dorothy Stratton was still released to the public. So there were 5 cursed Playboy Playmates. Playmates might look like they have a life filled with glamour and fun, but behind the scenes, many are trapped in a vicious vortex of danger, and some never end up getting out alive. We have new videos coming out every Wednesday and Saturday, so please remember to subscribe to our channel because you won't want to miss out on what's coming up next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.